Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This is a best of my previous guest of Rachel Fox. Some hilarious travel stories in this one. I've sliced them all up together and produced a 30-minute episode for you where you can indulge, have a laugh and enjoy Rachel's ridiculous stories. We cover Rachel's problem with the language, that is speaking to horses, shouting help at the wrong time in Brazil. She gets in trouble at the Honduras border, stuck in this guy's Toyota for 36 hours. And there's other little snippets in there of different types of stories throughout the travels. And it really is a hilarious episode and a lot of laughs in this one. Just bear in mind, some of these are some of my oldest episodes and the audio isn't the greatest quality, but I've done my best to make it sound better. I hope you enjoy. And this is an accumulation of 5 episodes into one short episode for you. See you next time.
I mean this in the nicest possible way, but like, you're a nobody.
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment.
I mean, it's not like, I'm trying to think of someone really famous now. It's not like
if Joe Rogan came out and released a new podcast and he got 35 per show, he'd be disappointed with that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but you're not him.
No, I'm not him, no. Rachel, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi. I would say thanks for having me as a guest, but I think I invited myself.
You did, yeah, that's correct.
Thanks for accepting my invitation to be your guest.
You're not the first one, don't worry.
Just a couple of things from me. Please head to my new website, www.wingingittravelpodcast.com. The link is in the show notes, where you can access everything about this podcast, how to support the podcast, where to find episodes, a little bit of information about me, how to contact me, how to sponsor the podcast, how to be a guest. Everything is on there for you to take a look at. And secondly, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got weekly episodes coming out for all my travels, pretty much the last year and going a little bit further back. And of course, my future travels coming up in 2024. It'd be great to see you on there. It helps podcasts gain that extra bit of traction, and I'm really enjoying showing you my content I have from the last year or so. Thank you.
So Darren come in handy in terms of stuff like that, where you've maybe said the wrong word or pronunciation?
Oh my God, I don't think I told this story on the last time.
Oh, go on then, yeah.
But I think this is the worst thing. Well, there's a couple of things that I've done in Spanish. The first one, actually, I remember we were hiking somewhere and we walked into a field and there was like some horses. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time for days that we'd seen people as well. And I was just like hiking and I was kind of tired and hungry. I don't know why, but I decided to say like hello to the horse, but really, really loudly. I was like, hola. I was like, hola, Abuelo. Which is hello, Granddad. Aaron looked at me and all these people just looked at me and they're like, why is she saying hello, Granddad, to the horse?
Where was this?
I think it was in Ecuador.
Okay.
But,
I've got this vision of Aaron just standing there going, what the hell are you doing? Like with all these people, and he absolutely knows what's going on because he obviously speaks Spanish.
Yeah. But I think the worst thing that I did in like terms of languages, we just got into Brazil, and obviously in Brazil they speak Portuguese, and my Portuguese is so unbelievably terrible. Aaron is amazing at languages, and he had taught himself Portuguese, so he's pretty much fluent in Portuguese by this point. And we'd gone to stay with a friend, a Brazilian friend that we'd met somewhere traveling, and he like, we go to his flat and he's like, he's like, I've got to go to work now, but you know, make yourself at home, hang out. If something really bad happens, you know, just look out the window and shout Socorro, which I think means help, but it kind of doesn't. It's like a really bad help. It's like emergency, like I need help now. It's Do you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
it's really bad. It's like an emergency type thing.
Yeah.
So then a couple of days later, we're off at the bus station and we're trying to buy tickets. And in Portuguese, it's really hard. The days of the week are really hard because Monday or Sunday is like first day, Tuesday is second day,
Okay.
Wednesday is third day. It's like it's something weird, or maybe Sunday is something completely different. I think Monday is first day. I don't even know still. So we're having like loads and loads of trouble trying to buy these tickets, and we just about do it. And this guy has spent ages like helping Aaron, and I'm just standing there, and Aaron's like, I want to buy a ticket for me and this woman, my girlfriend, blah blah blah. And I can't even like tell this story about laughing. But so then he says to the guy, it's like, thank you so much for your help. And I thought that he had used the Spanish word for help.
Right.
Because in my head, help is socorro.
Yeah.
So I just start shouting socorro at this guy. Like in the middle of this crazy crowded bus stop. I just start shouting socorro.
You probably thought you were kidnapped.
Yeah, so then he's saying to me, he's like, are you okay? Do you not want to get a ticket with this man? I didn't understand any Portuguese. I just start saying, yes, socorro. And then like trying to like say like thank you. And Aaron's like, will you shut up?
I can imagine you said that a lot on your trip. Try and record a story that Aaron helped this girl or two girls somewhere in South America get a bus ticket, but the guy that they're with was like getting a bit arsy with him because he was trying to be like the guy to help them out and try and impress. But Aaron just rocks up and orders 2 tickets or 3 tickets, I guess in this case.
Yeah, that did happen actually. We were all like standing on the side of the road waiting for this bus, and they were worried about ordering this bus ticket, and they're with a guy who's like, oh, I don't know. He was like, I'll help you. I can speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And the bus rocks up and Aaron gets on first, and he's like, hey, look, there's 5 of us. We didn't know these people, but he's like, there's 5 of us. Can you do us a discount? And the bus driver was like, yeah, fine. Like, because I think it must have been Colombia or somewhere where the price of the bus ticket isn't the price of the bus ticket. You barter. Right.
Yeah.
And this guy, he got like real shirty, and he's like, excuse me, I can sort out the bus tickets. And Aaron's like, all right then, well. And Aaron let him pay full price. Brilliant. And we got ours for like a third of the price because I have an amazing story actually about one of the places that we went to in Brazil. And we went to this tiny, tiny town that's a couple of like maybe 5 hours drive north of Sao Paulo, maybe more. I don't know, but it's called Cantanduva. And no one goes there. It's like just it's a normal Brazilian town. But basically, before we went traveling, Aaron took part in, Reddit, like the Reddit Secret Santa. Yeah. Yeah. So he took part in like the Reddit Secret Santa, and he must have put, so how it works is you have like a profile, and then you're randomly assigned someone, and you look at their profile, and it will say like, I'm into football and line dancing, and I eat chocolate, I don't know. And then you buy them a present and send it on, and it's completely anonymous. But Aaron must have put in his profile that he was going traveling, and he was, going to go to South America, whatever. Because the person who got Aaron sent him this huge box from Brazil, with like loads of Brazilian food in it, some like football t-shirts, but also pictures of like him and all of his family. And he wrote a letter, and he was like, this is my name, like this is my email address. If you are coming to Brazil, you should come and meet me and my family. Like it would be really cool to meet an English person. And so we did. And it was the best part of a year later, but we went to this tiny town in Brazil to go and stay with the guy Aaron had sort of met on Reddit. And I think and like we met loads of Brazilian people, and we were always like, yeah, we're gonna go to Cantanduva, and they were all like, what? Why are you going to Cantanduva? But we arrived, and we stayed with this guy and his family. He was like this young guy. I think he was like 21, 22 or something, and he lived with his parents. And the whole family put on a street, not of the family, sorry, like the street put on a party for us. So they had this big street party for us when we arrived, and everyone was like coming and giving, and like everyone had baked us food and got us presents and stuff because they'd never met like English people before.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I guess
it was really cool. And then we did loads of like stuff with them, like, you know, they took us on like little tours of the town and to different restaurants, and we went and met all the neighbors, and I think we stayed there for like nearly a week.
Wow.
So we crossed the border into Brazil, and Aaron just started speaking fluent Portuguese. My Spanish was the best it had ever been. I was speaking Spanish to everyone, but obviously they didn't understand. To prepare for this podcast today, I actually had a can of Coke. I thought of you.
I kind of want to ask why.
It reminds me of you.
Right, okay. Any beans involved, or?
I considered beans on toast, but
bottled it.
I didn't go there.
Okay. Do you go there much?
No, actually. Since you left New Zealand, we don't really eat many beans.
Don't blame me for that. Do you remember that night out we had in Wellington, and we went back to yours a little bit tipsy, obviously, and you just kept asking me questions about my food habits. The thing is, I could see you thinking about it sometimes. So I'd sit there, right? I don't know if you remember this. Me and Emma sitting there, you and Aaron are sitting there, just talking about a load of shit, really. And I can just see your mind working, and you're sort of like looking over to me, and your eyes are going. I'm like, she's going to ask a question in a minute, and you start asking me questions about beans and how I do it with eggs on toast. And do you remember that?
Probably, yeah. I find your food choices fascinating.
Yeah. Huh.
Emma said as well, and I remember that night, actually. I do remember, because Emma was like, yeah, my friends think that his diet is fascinating too. It's not just me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know many people that would go, oh, you know, finish the Inca Trail, you know, finish day 2 of the Inca Trail, get a Coke.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything better. I cannot think of anything better than sitting down, nice cold bit of Coke to reflect on the day.
Maybe this will be my last story. But I met a guy traveling. He was a young guy, and he'd gone to Brazil first. He'd gone to Rio, and he went to the beach late at night.
Oh, right.
And he got robbed, and they took like his phone and his wallet and, you know, whatever. And then he was walking back, and he got mugged again. And he was like, "I've just been mugged. I don't have anything. I've just been mugged." And they were like, "Well, give us your T-shirt then." And so they stole the clothes he was wearing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why. We met, and I'm going to put this on record. I don't care who fucking hears this.
No!
I was at a job that's in the top 3 worst of all time. Me and you in the same job. And it was a call centre job. And it was like lab rats at the bottom of the building, like no windows, couldn't go out anywhere. Basement. Yeah, basement rats, really. You didn't really stay, you probably stayed, a few weeks? I can't remember now.
We had arrived in New Zealand, I think maybe early November time. For those that don't know, Christmas is obviously kind of the start of the summer holidays in New Zealand. So everyone gets like, you know, a good 2 weeks off. And to get the 2 weeks paid, you had to work a month before you started. So I think I stayed there 5 weeks just to get the paid leave. And then as soon as we went back after Christmas, I noped out of there.
Yeah, I think you left there, and I left like maybe a week or 2 weeks later. And I think
I was the only thing keeping you there.
I think you were, because we couldn't believe how bad it was, right?
Oh, it's got to be the worst job I've ever had as well.
It's only second worst to the other job I had, which was another call centre job. So they're both shit, aren't they?
I think the biggest problem was that we were obviously an IT support desk, but we had no training and we didn't know anything about IT. Yeah, when teachers, like real professionals with busy jobs doing, good things, would phone us up and ask for IT help, and our answer was, I don't know.
I can do a password reset. Would that help you? No, I don't need that. Okay, fine. Do you know how to use the application? No, never used it. Oh, okay. And where'd you go from there? I don't know where you go.
We get picked up, and the trip kind of starts a little bit weird, to be honest. Like, we're picked up and we're taken to a hostel and we're given some pancakes, and we're like, what is going on? Like, it's just a bit weird. And like, this hostel, there's no windows, and we're just eating pancakes with some other people, and we're like, well, this is bizarre. And then like an air-conditioned minivan kind of pulls up and takes all our luggage, and we're like, right, yeah, this is what we paid for.
Yeah.
This is what we've paid for, quite a lot of money for as well. And we're in this minivan for like maybe an hour and a half, and then it pulls into a car park. And the driver points at me, Aaron, and this one other Australian dude, and he was like, you get out here? And we're like, huh? And all there is in this car park is us and this like absolutely clapped out Toyota. And he's like, your ride is going to pick you up from here. And we're like, okay. So we get out and we're all just standing there, and the guy's like, no, and points at the Toyota, and he's like, that's your ride. And we're like, oh my God. So, it's this banged up old Toyota, and there's me and Aaron in the back and the Australian guy in the front. And when I say Toyota, like, I mean a car, just a car.
Yeah.
And we'd been driving, like, we pull out the car park, and the driver goes and puts some petrol in it. And we're driving about 40 minutes, and the car breaks down. And it turns out like it's overheating. And obviously it's Honduras, like it's like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
The whole time, And the guy's like, yeah, the car's broken down. So he phones, or he told us that he phones the shuttle company, and they're like, oh, we're going to send another driver. So we're sitting on the side of the road waiting for the car to cool down and for this other driver to come. And about 40 minutes later, he's like, oh, well, they're not coming. The car's cooled down. Let's go. And this continues for the next 12 hours. We can't drive more than 35 miles an hour because the car will get too hot. And he has to keep like pulling over and pouring big like buckets of water over like the inside of it to cool it all down.
How much does this cost for you? How much did it cost?
I can't remember how much it cost. Honestly, I'm traumatized. But we get to like, we are so behind schedule, and we're supposed to be in Nicaragua like kind of 12 hours after we set off, and 12 hours later we're not even like halfway down Honduras. And we kind of stop in San Pedro Sula for like some chips because we hadn't stopped anywhere, we hadn't eaten, we were just like, this is just hell. And it's kind of getting dark, and the driver's like, I think it's going to be better now because it's going to be cooler and we can go a bit further. And we're all just like, okay, whatever. So we're driving, it's dark, and we're actually making some progress, and it's about midnight at this point, considering we left at 8 a.m. And we get stopped by the police, like a random Honduran kind of roadblock. And the guy, our driver, didn't have the right documentation, so he bribes the police. As you do.
Okay.
Yeah, he bribes the police. They let us go, but they've obviously just rang their mates because we get stopped again 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So they just take the money, and then they whatever.
Yeah.
So they were like, you don't have the right documentation. And this is where, Aaron's Spanish is both a blessing and a curse, because he's listening to the whole conversation and like translating it for us. And the police say to the taxi driver, you can't take these tourists over the border. Like, you don't have the right documentation to be driving them, and you definitely can't take them to Nicaragua. You need to take them to a hotel and pay for them to stay in the hotel and find a new driver for them in the morning. That's the conversation that was had. What happened was the taxi driver took us to a petrol station and made us sleep there. It was probably the worst night I've ever had on a petrol station forecourt while the taxi driver stands outside just smoking and bitching with his friends.
Right.
He does not sleep. He sleeps for a couple of hours.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And he kept saying to us, we're going to go to the bank at 8 a.m. tomorrow, the bank at 8. And we're like, I don't know if anything in Central America opens at 8 a.m.
No way.
Right.
Almost 11 a.m. breakfast.
So then we wake him up at 8 a.m. and he's like, oh, yeah, the bank doesn't open till 10. Like, why did you tell us 8 then, you know? So then we're just all sitting there waiting, and he drives us to the bank at 10 to go and get his documentation. He nearly crashes the car as we're off to the bank. We go to the bank and they can't give him the documents. And he's then like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm stuck with you lot. You know, we've been in this car for 24 hours now, and we're all losing the will to live. And he's like, I'm going to drive you to the border.
Yeah.
And then we'll just work out what to do from there.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, that's a plan. We can deal with that for now. And we're driving, and Aaron's got like the route up on maps. And we are 30 minutes drive from the border, and we're like, oh my God, like, we're going to make it. And he blows a tire, and the driver was like almost crying, like he's almost in tears, like his car literally is just falling apart around us.
Tell you what, it's a nightmare for you, but it's equally a nightmare for him, isn't it?
Yeah, and we were all so kind of sleep deprived, and just we couldn't stop laughing. And there was like the three of us just lying on the floor crying with laughter while he's there like shouting in Spanish, what's so funny, like, look at my car, look at my tire. Like, sorry, we just can't talk to you right now, this is just too much.
Yeah.
So he then phones his friend, which is really bizarre. He has a friend who lives down the road, who cycles to us
with
a jack.
Oh, with a
Jack.
Yeah.
And they replaced that bad tire for another bald tire.
Right.
But he does get us to the border.
Okay.
And I think this is probably for me the absolute most annoying part of the story, because the land borders in Central America are actually quite big. Like, you walk out of, you know, Nicaragua, like out of Honduras, and then you have this whole stretch of land that you have to walk across, and then you walk into Nicaragua. You know, it's not just like
it's the same.
It's a big old.
Yeah,
it's a big old kind of checkpoint almost, and there were some people on like you know, the little like bike tuk-tuks that were there, and he's like, I'll pay them to take your luggage, and we're like, nah, it's fine, we can just walk with it. He's like, no, honestly, like, after everything that's happened, you know, this is maybe 32 hours after we left.
Yeah.
And he's like, after everything that's happened, you know, like, I'll pay for them to take your bags on these bikes. So we all get on and we cycle across to the passport stampy bit in Nicaragua, and they then scam us, the bike people, because they're like, nah, he didn't pay.
Oh.
Like, we watched him pay. Watched him, you know. And then we had to pay them twice to get our luggage back.
Yeah.
We get over into Nicaragua finally, and we had to take a chicken bus.
Am I right in saying, that when you're floating to Colombia, that you saw a suitcase?
Not quite, but it was me. So they had said to us when we get on our boat, they're like, you know, this is a really, you know, well-known drug route. You cannot have drugs on board. Like, you know, the police will stop you. The police do patrol this route. You may see, you know, big, like, I suppose in, like, you know, Breaking Bad or whatever, like the big bricks of white powder, you might see them floating. do not get them.
Yeah.
But if you see money floating, which you might also see, grab it. Those were kind of the instructions that we had. And there was on our open sailing day, there was a huge storm and there was a problem with our boat. And like at one point Aaron was like at the top of the mast trying to fix the sail.
Bloody hell.
And then because it was such a small crew, we were the crew on this boat.
Yeah.
And so the captain was like running around barking these orders, and there was me and one other girl, and we were both just sat at the back. We weren't given jobs. And I think one of the reasons we weren't given jobs was because we had taken so many travel sickness, seasickness tablets that we were just out of it. Like I slept for like 2 days pretty much, but I was woken up in this storm, and we're just sitting at the back of the boat and everything's going wrong. Everyone's kind of, going crazy. And I look out to the side and there is the biggest stack of dollar bills. I reckon it was like $1 million. No word of a lie. And I'm like in my little, seasickness state. I was like, what the hell? And I get this girl and I'm like, look at that. And she's like, oh my God. But it's this huge storm and the sail was broken. And it wasn't like, not that we could have jumped in the water anyway.
How far was it?
It wasn't like, it was too far to reach.
Okay.
And it would have taken turning the boat around.
Right.
Yeah, it was so devastating. The only thing that makes me feel better is that it would have washed up on the Kuna, on the San Blas Islands, and the Kuna people would have got it. And apparently they do get money and drugs. They get drugs which they sell back to Panama, and then they get money quite frequently. So that's the only thing that makes me feel better about that. But otherwise, I could be sitting here as a millionaire.
Yeah.
Death Road was amazing. I didn't enjoy it.
Okay.
But just because I thought I was going to die.
Well,
we went in a group, obviously, and it was led by someone who's a professional downhill biker.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron spent the entire day with the biker, and they were overtaking each other and, having fun. And I was at the very back next to the van, the support van. And at one point, the support van was like stopped because I was going so slowly. Yeah, it was obviously it's really cool. It's a really cool thing to do, but it's pretty terrifying. Patagonia is really famous for kind of like crazy wind.
Yeah,
and worse than Wellington, I reckon. And the third day is these kind of walks along like a cliff top that's next to a big lake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really beautiful, but it's a lot of exposed up and down over this kind of cliff face. And we pack up our little tent and we start walking. And I think we'd been gone maybe 10 minutes. And there was a gust of wind that I think it's got to be 100 mile an hour, because it blew me off my feet. And I'm like about to go over the side of this cliff, and Aaron grabs me grabs me. I don't even know how he grabbed me.
Yeah.
And then we're both like on the floor holding onto a tree.
Okay.
And my bag had like gone over the top of my head, and I've somehow pulled, like every single muscle in my back.
Mm.
And that's 10 minutes into, a 6-hour day of walking. So Aaron has to take both of our bags.
Yeah.
And the wind is so bad that every time we get to an exposed bit, I sit on the floor and Aaron crawls on his hand and knees, and he takes one bag over the top of the ridge and then ties it to a tree, and he crawls back and he gets the other bag, and then we both crawl across the top.
What Aaron wants to do is just play on COD at home, listen to his heavy metal music, and you've got him trekking in the mountains of Patagonia.
He didn't really want to go, did he? So we managed that process for maybe 4 or 5 hours. And we get off of these ledges, and we meet a couple who are coming the other way. Mm-hmm. And we were like, you've got to be really, really careful because it's really dangerous. And they're like, yeah, it's really dangerous the way you're coming. What you need to do is every time the wind starts, you just need to sit down. Like, oh my God, okay. So then we're walking, and in fairness, I don't think it was quite as bad, and my back was starting to feel better. I was able to take my own bag again.
Yeah.
But we get to the top of this hill. We could see, like, in the distance at the bottom of the hill, the refugio, which is and the campsite, which is where we're supposed to stay.
Oh, yeah.
And it suddenly pours down with rain, like torrential rain, sideways rain. And the whole walk is switchbacks looking at the campsite that we don't seem to be getting any closer to. Obviously, Udaipur is really small, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we were walking around, and people, I suppose it was really strange, but people kept looking at me and pointing, and then they'd like touch their friends and be like, look. And they're staring at me, and everyone kept talking about me and looking and pointing and whispering, and I was like, what is this? Like, what is going on? And I was getting like really anxious, actually. Like, that feeling, like, when you've been to a party or something and you've blacked out or something, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? Like, I was just dancing with the sticks. And then I got talking to this guy, and he was like, you're the girl who's on telly this morning. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He was like, from last night, you were dancing, and then they covered it on the telly, and you've been on like the breakfast news, and I was famous.
Did you manage to find it? Did you manage to see it at the time?
No.
Oh, but I'd be interested to see what you're doing.
Kept telling me, yeah, and they were like, I was famous for 2 days.
And then they forgot me, I guess.
And then I left, and they probably, filmed some other white girl doing something stupid.
Yeah.
Fans loved it that much that they're calling your name, so you're back.
I like to think of people camped outside your door chanting.
The signs, right? We got more.
Back, Rachel. Like, I remember I was having this conversation with someone. I think I was in Chile, actually, and I was quite tired. And we'd just been chatting about, just like small talk.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what I thought I asked him, but I asked him a question, and it would have been something really, like really simple, or like, oh, who are you on holiday with, or something like that. And this guy got really like sad faced, and he was like, yeah, no, I was married, but then, my wife cheated on me, and then we've had this really messy divorce, but I've got a son. And I was just like, well.
Just asking for directions.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I've asked, and I don't know how to get out of it. Is that a good note to end on?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to finish the podcast episode, actually. Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been a good laugh, and we've got some random subjects in there as well as travel, so it's been good.
Yeah, once again, I don't believe any of it was particularly helpful.
I disagree. I think there's some inspirational stuff in there. Yeah, it's definitely some language lessons learned in this podcast episode.
That's true.
And a weird affinity with horses. It seems to be a running theme as well.
So on that note, I'm going to say adios, Abuelo.
Adios.
I got a picture of the horse I said hello to.
Hang on a minute. Before we end, one last thing. I need to get this straight. So you're saying hello, granddad, to a horse.
Yeah.
Who's taking that photo?
Then I took the picture of the horse.
After you've just seen a group of people, including Aaron, just give you the most ridiculous look of like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So not only have they seen you, like, heard you say this and think, what the hell is this woman on? They're now seeing you take a photo of the horse. They must have think you're bat crazy.
They wouldn't be far wrong, though, would they? Yeah, they'd probably be onto something.
Yeah. I think we'll end on that, I think.
Oh, I really thought we'd finished. All right, then.
Okay, thanks for coming on.
Hey, yeah, just a quick one. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5. Or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, You can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcast, and other stuff. Thank you.